Get in your election groove, because we're about an hour away from the first polls closing in Indiana, where the crucial primary battle is underway. Tonight could have a big impact on how this race moves forward. And as Americans exercise their right to vote today, we should not forget the more than 150,000 U.S. military personnel currently stationed overseas, including about 35,000 in the Middle East. These brave men and women are putting their lives on the line in harm's way to protect our rights here at home. This morning, U.S. defense officials confirmed a Navy SEAL was shot and killed by ISIS terrorists near Erbil, Iraq. The SEAL was in the region serving as an advisor to Kurdish forces. It's the third American soldier killed in the battle against ISIS since October. White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest addressed the development earlier.
Today's incident is a vivid reminder of the risks that our service members are taking. 3 of them now have made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. But the President's been clear, time and time again, exactly what their mission is. That mission is to support Iraqi forces on the ground who are taking the fight to ISIL on the front lines. Iraqi forces must fight for their own country. United States forces cannot be a substitute for those Iraqi forces.
Retired 4-star General Jack Keane explains why he believes we are facing the threat of ISIS.
By 2008, when the Obama administration was elected, President Bush had handed the Obama administration a victory. When the administration came in early 2009, they began to disengage politically from Iraq and not shape the political system, which was in desperate need of help. And then 2011, we pulled out all the troops. And I can tell you that our leaders were unbelievably frustrated by that, because there was no reason to abandon Iraq. The Obama administration has failed to make the peace work. That's why we got ISIS.
All right, so this is pointing directly to the failures of the current administration, and we see on this primary election day a lot to be focused on in terms of what kind of choice people want to make for a commander-in-chief going forward, especially with the unrest and a fatal U.S. casualty on the ground in Iraq.
Yeah, interesting that you're bringing in the presidential election, or the primaries on this topic, because there's some different varying views on whether or not we should even be in Iraq right now. I think Donald Trump says we shouldn't be in there. He said he was against it. Others are saying we should go. Ted Cruz says we should carpet bomb Syria, etc. The sad part is that Josh Earnest said the White House mission is to support and train. Yet this hero, the SEAL, died in action in combat, right? So there's 4,000 troops left in Iraq. See, either you're going to be in Iraq or you're not going to be in Iraq. 4,000 isn't enough. So therefore, you're putting 4,000 at risk. So if you're for a strategy that says solidify, secure Iraq, then put enough people in there so that these people aren't dying. If you're for a strategy of pulling out, then get the heck out and stop putting more in. I think we're sending 200 or so more recently. We said we're going to do that. They're all going to be at risk. I have a better idea. President Obama should just wake up, do what he's supposed to do, stop fighting this war in his BlackBerry, go to Congress and say, this is what I want to do, Congress. If you're on board, sign on the dotted line and join me in this fight. Or they can say, here's what we want to do, President Obama, and push back on him and say, have an alternate strategy, and the American people can get involved instead of the president doing this unilaterally.
Especially since they're the funding arm as well, and that would be following the proper process and separation of powers.
Right, and I think the president has done that, Eric. And in fact, what we've seen is the Congress is reluctant to make that decision. I think everybody is sort of gun-shy after having given President Bush authority to go to war in Iraq, and everybody laments and concerned, Republican and Democrat. Republicans in Congress now think you have to give the commander-in-chief sort of unlimited rights to go fight and take out ISIS, as you just described. The Democrats are worried if you give the commander-in-chief total leeway, then the next president might really take us back into full combat, and they don't want to see that. So I think Congress is the one that's kind of stuck at the moment.
Well, but he's doing this on his own. He's developing his war strategy on his own. And frankly, we've heard that he doesn't even consult his generals. He doesn't even listen to his generals who may have a different idea. My guess is that they would be get back in there and fix it.
Melissa, you were commenting.
I mean, I don't think that he actually wants to go in there and fight. I think that's why we're seeing so few people go over there. But you look at one of the propaganda videos that cropped up in the wake of all this, an ISIS fighter says, "I am jealous of you," to a suicide bomber. "I'm jealous of you because you are going to heaven." I mean, at the risk of sounding like Jesse Waters, I mean, it sounds, I don't know why the president isn't more aggressive, because everybody's working towards the same purpose. They want to die. We need to wipe them out so they don't come attack us here. I mean, the whole thing has just gotten so insane.
Well, you bring up a good point. And, Greg, you know, one of the criticism has been about the failed foreign policy and how we've handled it in the Middle East is that there was a failure to put in a proper status of forces agreement to ensure stability, because ultimately that failure has led to the rise of ISIS and the quest for a caliphate. That's all stemmed from this. We had tremendous gains, whether getting in or not getting in Iraq, we did. We committed treasure and resource there and American lives. We accomplished a great deal only to see it, you know, slip away and ISIS rise up.
Well, I mean, if you do not like the war that we as America, as a nation won, it is not up to you to lose it. Even if you disagreed with the premise of it, the fact that the war is won, the war is won. It's not up to you to say, well, you know, I never liked it from the start, so I'm pulling out. But we have to understand when we talk about a country that's being gun shy, we're shortchanging actually the military. The military knows why they exist. A consequence of vanquishing evil is that good people will die, and sometimes the greatest people will die. But it's the price that a happy warrior pays. A buddy of mine who's a Green Beret, Terry Shepard, said to me, "Do not feel bad asking us to do our job. We didn't enlist in order to do drills." And when you are faced with perhaps the worst evil that we've ever seen, that makes your mission matter most. So I think the one thing that we have to do is we always have to keep our response in context. The more that we freak out, the more that it enamors ISIS and makes them feel that they are doing something. The fact is, whenever something like this happens and we lose a brave American, we have to return to resiliency, that for every one that we lose, they lose 1,000. And that's just the way you have to look at it. And people will say, well, you're a chicken hawk. But it is a government agency. It is a government agency filled with people who want to go and destroy evil, and we have to let them do it.
Right, exactly, because we don't have, you know, a draft that's compulsory. Everybody's got to go no matter what. These are people who are signed up, that believe in this country, are true patriots. But at the same time, Greg, yes, we have to have things in place like proper status of force agreement when we do win a war.
We have to give them everything.
Also give them everything, as in modify tremendously the rules of engagement that under this administration has hampered all the men and women serving over there. If you ask anybody like your Green Beret friend or any of the SEALs or Deltas or Special Forces guys over there, that is a huge problem. Marcus Petrellis talked about
ISIS,
this too.
If it's not ISIS, then what is it? What would you fight? I mean, as Americans, this is truly one of the most evil phenomenons in history.
Not a question of fighting ISIS, but the method at which you do fight ISIS. And the method, how do you take ISIS out? You really want to eradicate ISIS? Go for it. Do the bombing raids. Do what we did in the Gulf War. We didn't send 5 or 7 or 10 sorties a day. We sent thousands a day. Literally thousands a day, and we pounded them and we beat them into submission.
Eric, that's
if you're going to go for it, go for it.
That's a different context. We are not. It's totally different.
It doesn't have to be different, though.
Well, I think it's greatly different. I think at this point we do not have the political will to assert all those troops back into a war theater.
Do it by air.
And what
do it by air.
We are bombing people.
Inevitably, you've got to be on the ground.
Inevitably, okay. That's what. So
I don't
if you're worried about collateral damage. But you're worried about rules of engagement.
Let's talk a second. The people that we are sending now, there are looser restrictions on them, to speak to your point, Kimberly. They can now go into the forward front of the battle. That's how this young man was killed, this Navy SEAL. Previously, they had to stay back at the headquarters.
But that's not true. No. That's oversimplifying it. It's not true. That's why we've lost so many citizens.
The idea is to advise and help the
we were helping the Kurds
for their own country.
He was helping the Kurds, and that's why he was there. But the problem is, great evil does not cower in the face of subtle resistance. Get that.